I don't believe failure is an option. At the end of the day, like, your job is to overcome every single obstacle that gets thrown your way. I embrace the fact that I'm the underdog. My back is against the wall, and I got only one way to go, and that is to fight forward.
Hey everyone, what is going on? Steve Rozenberg here with the High Stakes with Steve Rozenberg podcast show. Today I've got a very special guest, a guy that we'll say he and I have circled each other for probably a couple of years. Very successful in many industries that I coach in and I speak in. And I thought it'd be really, really good to have him on the show. Number one, because I think he's a high performer, which I freaking love being around those kinds of people. Number two, he's got a big event coming up shortly, and I thought it'd be good for him to let people know about it. So if you don't know, you can kind of learn about it and see if it's something that may be right for you. So Eric Fortenberry, Eric, thank you for being on today, brother.
Appreciate you having me, Steve.
So if you don't mind, just real quick, the 30-second summary of who you are and what you do.
Sure. I'm the founder and CEO of JobTread, and we provide construction estimating, project management software to small, medium-sized construction-based businesses.
So let me just ask you this, man. That's not a sexy like, Mom, when I grow up, this is what I want to do. Like, how, maybe it was, I don't know. How did you come up with something like that, this whole industry?
Sure. So it was after I sold my first software company in 2015. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do next. Wanted to be able to make an impact, to help others. Ended up helping my outdoor living landscaper get her business set up. Brought him technology, systems, processes. I saw the impact that made. Had a buddy of mine running a construction company. He said, "Hey man, can you come help us?" They were a little bit farther along, doing about $5 million in revenue, had 10 employees, but just struggling to scale the business. They just hit this glass ceiling, couldn't break through. He asked me to come over, help him out. I just immediately saw the chaos that, I later learned is a very common thing with construction businesses. And, I was like, man, you just need some software. Let's get some systems going, some processes. I went and I looked at everything out there, but I struggled to pick one for him that I, had originally thought I was just going to help him get something implemented. It just seemed super antiquated, really expensive, really hard to customize. And the guys encouraged me to essentially ask me, "Hey man, will you build us something for us?" I was like, well, I don't know about that. They're like, "You're a software guy, you can do it." And I was like, I don't know. I'm not looking to take on, another full-time role here. You guys can't maintain it. But they kept pushing me. So finally I was like, man, this is a huge opportunity. After further research, looking at the industry, I saw a tremendous need for construction businesses to be able to better organize themselves, manage their jobs, hit their target profit margins. And, ultimately I went back to him and I agreed to do it. Said I'll do it under 3 conditions. 1, I take over as CEO. 2, I give you 1 year of my time. And 3, everything I build is my intellectual property. So if this has the potential to become my next company, then I could, go and do that after that 1 year. And, basically took over the business. We, grew them from 5 to 8 million in sales that year, and we increased their gross profit by 43%.
Wow. That is awesome. Would you say you're a serial entrepreneur from that quote unquote definition that people have?
It's that's an interesting question. My dad is a serial entrepreneur for sure. He always said, "Eric, you'll be a serial entrepreneur." My first company though, I would have been there if I wouldn't have been. I actually got ousted from my own company back when we got acquired by a private equity firm, and 1 year and 1 day they came and they just cut the head off the snake. They got rid of me pretty quick, and it was really unfortunate. But in hindsight, it was a blessing because I'm a guy that's very, very loyal. I am true to the cause. We are here for the long haul, not looking to bounce around and have to start over. It is so much work to start another business, and so I'm not wanting to be a serial entrepreneur. I want to just build something amazing, create a great culture, great company, add as much value, and give back to as many people as I possibly can. So, even though this is, I guess, my second, third, depending on how you, count it there, I'm not necessarily looking to bounce around and then, flip businesses. I think it's a lot more exciting to really dig in and to build something that can, stand the test of time and can really make a huge impact.
It's interesting. I very similar path. I have, I had a property management company in Houston, Dallas, and Fort Worth, and we ended up selling it to a venture capital firm. They kept us on for about 1.5 years, 2 years. one of the biggest challenges that I found, and I don't know, maybe because you left right away, was they basically have taken something that you've created, and it's part of your identity when you create this thing, and they basically just dismantle it in front of you, and you're like, oh my god, like that was very quick, the way you guys just ripped apart my life for the last 10 years of what I built. Did you have any problems with that, just if we're going from one to the other?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, we had, essentially we sold the business to them. They ended up, right after they bought us, they bought our biggest competitor. We only competed with one of their 5 products, and so ultimately, they wanted to kind of move us up under them. And, I had some kind of, issues with that. We had the much better app, but we were the smaller team, and, to have them come in and basically, kick me out of my own family, my own, I literally 10 years of my life, my blood, sweat, and tears, like this is my baby being ripped away from me. I mean, yeah, it was gut wrenching. And again, like, the sale had been a year before. So like all the money and all the exciting things that come from selling a business, like that was all come and gone. Like I was, just committed to continuing to do this for the team that I had built. I mean, we had about 60 employees. We had hundreds and hundreds of customers all over the world. Like I was really, really dedicated and wasn't going to just, kind of bail and walk away. Like a lot of times, companies get bought and the owners, have this huge payday as I did as well, but they kind of want to ride off into the sunset. And, I don't know, man, I'm just, I can't help myself. I'm here because I want to be here, working my butt off, to make a big impact. And, it was hard to basically be ousted for sure.
It's one of those things. I think that, and again, I could just relate to my experience of selling my business, was that we think there's this huge grand cascading finale that we're going to pop through this bubble when we sell our business, and everything is going to be, we're in this euphoric wonderland. We get these members only jackets. We're in this cool club. And what I learned was Monday morning, everybody goes back to their life, and you're just like, what do you want to do today? And they're like, dude, I got to work. Like I've got stuff to do. And all of a sudden you're like, okay, I guess, and we're trained to be these, types of people, like a shark that just keeps swimming. We don't stop swimming. And I think a lot of times, and I'm curious if you had this, there's a lot of identity challenges with, okay, it's like, well, yeah, I've got the money. I've got the zero. It's not like they bring a pallet of money to your driveway and go, here. It's an electronic transfer. There's more zeros in the bank, etc. It gives you the security, but I don't think people like you and I don't think we do this for that. I think we do this for the thrill of the hunt. It's the drive. It's the build. When you had that and you said, I'm going to go and, maybe start this new thing, and I don't know how to ask this the right way, so I'm just going to ask it. Was it more to prove a point to them that you could do it again, or to yourself that you could do this, to kind of go, I can keep doing this over and over again? Because I've had these challenges, so I'm curious what yours were.
That's a very interesting question, Steve. And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, you get this wire one day and you got a bunch of zeros, and it's like, holy cow! And sure, you're shocked for a little while, but at the end of the day, like, as I think it was, Zig Ziglar said, I've had money and I've not had money. I'd much rather have it, but it doesn't like change who you are, or it doesn't have to, right? Like at the end of the day, like that natural, entrepreneurship, that itch just doesn't get scratched, and I think that, early on in my very first company, I read this book. I'll never forget it. It was by an author named Sarah Lacey, and the book was called Once You're Lucky, Twice You're Good. And it was all about how all of the founders, over in the whole Web 2.0, over in Silicon Valley, like she showed the network and how they were all actually connected to each other. And they basically just kept investing in each other's businesses. And they had this like just continual ongoing like effect that they created all of this like, web of all these web companies. And it was just super interesting. And like, I remember thinking, man, like, cause I started my first company when I was 23. And, I know, like, I definitely had a lot of luck going into that. It was something that, as a 23-year-old, I guess, 8 or 9 years later to have been able to have a, multi-million-dollar, very successful exit. My first time at bat, like, sure, the stars aligned. I did all the right things, built the right people, had the right time, just so many things came together. And I was very, very fortunate for that. But yeah, like I always like I always remembered back about that book. And I think after I read it, I went and bought like 20 or 30 copies, gave it to everyone on the team, actually flew to San Francisco to go meet with her and tell her how impactful that was. And I give that a lot of credit to say, man, like, I don't want to be just that guy who had that one startup that just hit and he lucked out. Like, yeah, I did come back into this saying, like, I want to prove that I'm good. And I've taken everything that I learned, from that first business, and I even kind of like jokingly say, like, that was really the warm up round. I learned a lot from that business, and I brought like really my core team back together here at this company. So like our core, we've been together now for 15, 20 years, similar kind of business model, similar operation. My biggest takeaway was I chose the wrong market in the first one. I mean, I was, again, 23. I didn't realize, how small the education market was. We were selling to colleges and universities, and there are only 5,000 in the US, another 5 to 10,000 worldwide. Like, we took that software to over 650 universities in 13 countries, had over 20 million users, but it was such a small market, and it was such a bureaucratic sale, like very long sales cycle, and so when I found the opportunity with the construction industry, we got over 1 million potential customers right here in America. I was just like, wow, we're going to the other end of that spectrum. And so, yeah, like being able to apply all of the same systems and processes and lessons and building out the team and getting that second at bat. I mean, man, I had to jump on it.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love that story. And speaking and coaching to a bunch of entrepreneurs, a bunch of contractors, and speaking on stages, et cetera. I always tell people, I'm like, I always ask people, like, do you like to gamble? And they're like, no, I don't like to gamble. I'm like, isn't what you're doing a gamble right now? Like, you're not gambling money, but you're gambling the most valuable asset you have, which is your time. And the house will win if you don't know how to play the game correctly. And many people, I feel, play the game with the wrong set of rules. They don't understand the rules of being a business owner versus an employee, right? And I'm curious how you're and I know you have an event coming up. I'd like to hear about it. Like, how do you even go into this path of, like, people have an identity of being they're working for someone, they're banging nails, and all of a sudden they're like, I can do this better than him. He sucks. He doesn't pay me what I'm worth. I'm going to go open up my own shop. And all of a sudden they created a job, right? And now they're working days and nights. They don't have a business. They don't have a structure. Like you said, you're sitting there going, to you, you're like, this is kind of business 101. Does your software help people to do that, or is that more of a you thing where you just see it and you try to create the software around it? I'm very curious how it works.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like when I've looked at all of these different contractors, and even the one that I took over, I mean, again, I came from, background finance, accounting. I went and I worked at an investment bank. Like, I've got this like business background, this understanding of the financials, the accounting, building out models, projecting, cash flows, things like that. Like, having that understanding, and then going and looking at all of these construction businesses and seeing how so many of them have just, they grew up, on the tools, wearing the tool belt, sort of whatever circumstance came about that like resulted in them being in a position to build their own company. They still don't have that like underlying business background. And I think that's okay. But at the end of the day, like, you've got to have the right tools and the right systems in place that will help you to financially manage this business. I don't really care what business it is. Like, you have to have an understanding of how to create a financial plan and have an annual budget and what goes into managing the growth of a company from the ground up. It doesn't matter if you start with no money or you raise a bunch of money or, whatever it is, you take over an existing business. Like, at any given moment, like, you have to understand that you're going to have to track and measure and set goals, hit those goals, look back at your assumptions and like, where did you miss? How can you do better? And like, it's just continual evolving process that like I try to help give and share this financial literacy with as many possible people as we can. And JobTread gives them the tools to manage their jobs, their budgets, making sure they're accurately pricing their jobs. Do they know their costs? Are they hitting their target profits? And if not, why? Let's look back. Like, let's not keep making the same mistake over and over and over again, expecting a different outcome. That's the definition of insanity. You have to be able to measure and track your performance and then understand where you went wrong and course correct and make changes. And when you do that, like, you're continually leveling up, you're one-upping and you're improving. And I see so many people who just keep going along. They're like, man, I'm working harder, I'm doing more, I'm making more in top line sales, but I'm not putting any more money in my pocket. And it's like, why is that? And it's like, it's actually rather simple, but you're just not taking the time to track your performance and understanding your numbers. They're all interrelated. And once people like have that system in place and they start doing the job costing, they start actually, having those performance reviews, it's just such a burden. I can see it. This burden gets lifted off their shoulders. They've taken off the blinders, and they now have a clear vision and a path to how we can build a very successful and scalable, profitable business.
I love that. I can resonate with that so much from my background, and I don't know if my background being an airline pilot with systemization and processes and stuff that we have to know. I'm curious your opinion on this. So I'm a big believer that a business runs on three legs. It's the monetization, which is marketing and sales, making money. Systemization, which is making your business run without you, processes, procedures, and checklists. And then duplication, duplicating yourself, duplicating your systems, duplicating your markets. I am of the belief that most people have a problem with the first one, which is monetization. Now, like you said, they don't even know the second one even exists. So I believe that monetization solves your short-term problems, maybe 8 to 9 months. And then you've got to create the systemization. But if you don't have money, if your bank account is below zero, it doesn't matter. And understanding how to get recurring revenue and to create your target client, where do you see, because maybe I kind of, what I coach people on is revenue growth. That's what I'm showing them, how to grow your revenue consistently. My background of being an airline pilot with systemization, I know that. Where do you see them falter, or what false belief do you think a lot of contractors have that you're like, dude, this is where, Steve can show you how to grow your revenue. That is only that's momentum that fades. So where do you see them failing down the road?
Yeah, it is the fundamental understanding of cash flow. Cash flow is king. And so I see this, like, it's this misconception that like, just because they bring in a bunch of top line revenue, just because they have money in the bank, that does not mean that is necessarily their money. You could have $100,000 in the bank, but you owe $200,000. You're actually in the hole, and they get blinded when they see the cash in their bank and think that they are cash, rich, and that they've got cash flow and that they can make some investments. I see people that just they again, like, it's one thing to be able to fill the top of the funnel and to get leads and to convert those leads into customers and start making money, but that's just where it begins. It's about, can you take that and convert that into the bottom line? And so I see people, they burn themselves out because they're underpricing their job. They don't understand what their gross profit needs to be to cover their overhead, to operate the business, to pay themselves. And then they're like, man, we got to discount, we got to win more jobs. So they just keep bringing down the price, and they don't see that that's hurting them more than it's helping them. Like, there's no reason for them to go and exert a bunch of effort if they're not going to make any money. Just stay at home and wait. And you have to sell the jobs for what you need to price them at, so that you can cover all of those costs and you can reinvest in your business. And so if you go for a whole year just grinding it out and making less money than you would have made just continuing to work for that other guy, what's the point? You're wasting your time, you're wasting your effort, you're burning yourself out. Like, you got to understand the full picture. And I think that's just the biggest problem, is that, again, they don't have business degrees. And I don't think you have to have a business degree, but you got to understand the financials and how to manage the cash flow for a construction business. Another example, like, if you collect, if you wait to collect all your money at the end of a project, well, in order to get that project completed, you've had to buy materials. You might have had to pay your guys along the way. Like, you got a bunch of cash going out, and then until the very end, you finally get paid. Well, you've put all of your eggs in that basket. What if they don't pay you? Now you're like just in the hole and have no way to recoup that. Like, I'm such a big proponent of, like, you got to have payment schedules. You got to collect upfront and along the way, and you got to properly manage the cash flow of this business. Like, so many construction companies, they think they're doing great. And then one mistake, I've literally seen it, one mistake can just put you on your knees and potentially out of business.
Yep.
And you can't let that happen. Like, that is your job, to understand the fundamentals of how these businesses run and how the cash flows.
Yeah, I love that. I think that a lot of people, when they sell on price, they become a commodity, and they just another commodity can knock them out. But you and I, people, we buy on emotions. We don't buy on logic. We don't buy on data. We
Yep.
we buy on we buy on value, right? And that's an emotional pull. And so to me, when I see people selling on numbers, I'm like, you don't buy that way, but why are you selling that way? It's a disconnect because you have a false belief about money. You have a fear of money. You don't feel that either number one, you don't feel that you're worth the value, or number two, you do not understand that that is not how you buy. You don't buy that way. You and I don't buy that way. You don't need a $400,000 Ferrari when you can buy a $50,000 Kia. Same four wheels and an engine.
Yep.
It's the value. We get it because we want them, because we go, you know what? I see the value in a $400,000 car. There's no logical reason to buy one. So the same thing with, with contractors. I think they have a lot of them, they have an employee mentality, and I don't know how I do coaching them and stuff, but it's like breaking them through to understand, listen, you are no longer playing by that set of rules as an employee. You are now playing as a business owner, which is a leveraged position, leveraging knowledge, tools, money, assets, people. You're leveraging these people. The hardest worker in the room is the most tired, not the most successful.
No.
And so so I'd like to hear about your event. And does that, do you touch on that, or do you not even go down that path with these guys and ladies to tell them, hey, you're not going to sustain this. This is a short-term firecracker if you don't like this thing correctly.
Yeah.
And I'd like to hear about the event you have going on.
Absolutely. And I think, again, like the whole premise of Job Tread Connect, which is our annual user conference, we do it every year. We had over 1,000 people last year. This year, I expect no different. Like the whole point is bringing all of these contractors together from all across the world. They come together for 3 days, and they're going to submerge themselves, in keynote sessions and education sessions, networking. We'll have over 50 something sponsors, exhibitors there who are all there for the common goal of how do we learn and grow and share with others so that we can level up as an entire community, as an industry. Like, we need to bring the entire bottom of the barrel. Like, we have to help everyone elevate. All those contractors out there that are just, think that all they got to do is try to win on price, and they just keep cutting and just taking shortcuts. Like, that is actually hurting all of us. It's hurting the industry as a whole. It's giving a bad reputation to contractors, because those are the guys who aren't managing their business correctly. They're not managing their cash flow. They show up, they take, money from one customer, robbing Peter to pay Paul. Like, that hurts everyone. And we have to, rising tide lifts all boats. And so the whole point of Job Tread Connect is to bring all of these people together. And like all of the education sessions, there's over 30 ed sessions that are all presentations that are done by our contractors. It is by these business owners who have had the most success, who are willing to take the time to share how they're doing it, to open up. And so they're the ones that are getting on stage. They're the ones that are just sharing their challenges and how they've overcome those challenges. And I so much believe that, as an entrepreneur, we all know, it can feel lonely. You can just feel like all the weight of the world is on your shoulders. You feel, it's all up to you. And the reality is there are so many of us all over. And if we can just stop for a minute, take a step back and go put ourselves in the room with other high performers, other people who are going through the same thing that we are, we can learn from each other. We can help each other grow. And so the whole point of Job Tread Connect is to bring all of these people together so that we can elevate as a group and as a community. And again, we have a bunch of different tracks. I mean, everything from sales to marketing to operations to managing your crews to building teams to recruiting, all the tools, the technologies. It's just such an amazing event. The first year we did it, we had no idea how many people would come. I think we had 175 people showed up. The second year we did it, we had 500 people. We sold out the whole venue. Wow, that was awesome. Did it again, sold out 1,000-person venue. It's something that we're just so passionate. And look, my goal, our sole goal is just break even on the event. We are not in the business of putting on events and trying to, make money here. We just want to cover our cost, and it's becoming a large cost. I mean, we'll spend over $1 million on Job Trade Connect. It's an enormous undertaking, but the goal is because I'm so passionate about giving back and educating people. Like, again, Steve, I've already had my big exit. I'm not in this for the money. I wouldn't be paying myself right now if my CFO is like, Eric, like, we have to pay you. We're making so much money. You need to be paid. Like, it's the right thing to do. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. But like, I've always believed, like, if I work hard and I do the right things and make the right moves and build the right team, like, I don't check my bank account. I don't care what the money is. Like, that's not why I'm in it. I want to give back and pay it forward and help as many other people out there. And so by creating this event, like, this is a platform for us to be able to inspire and educate and train others, because you can be successful. And I 100% believe every single one of our customers, they have the same potential as anyone else. It's all about who is going to implement and execute and do what it takes to achieve that success. And if there's anything else I can do, I just want to hopefully motivate and inspire people to step up and do that. Because as a business owner, like, you are the leader. You have a tremendous opportunity to build a phenomenal business. You can pay for, a team of people. You're putting money in their pocket. You're, feeding their families. You're delivering great value to all of your customers. You are taking their lives to the next level by adding these high quality projects that are going to help improve their lives. Like, this rippling effect is massive, and it's motivating. It inspires me, and I hope that comes through to everyone else.
No, I love it, man. I love the message. I get the opportunity to speak on many stages for many different industries, whether it's a real estate investing, property management, contracting, roofing, HVAC, all that stuff. And what I've realized, and I'm curious your perspective, because you've gone through different industries, is that every single person out there, everyone that I've coached, and all the people that I meet and touch and get to know, at the end of the day, we're all just entrepreneurs trying to have a better life so that we can go create memories with our families and loved ones. The vessel or the vehicle that we use, whether it's roofing, contracting, real estate, whatever, I don't believe that it's a good idea to identify as that vehicle. We should be thinking about the result and having the better life to go spend time with family and loved ones and create memories. And I think somehow we get stuck in the being busy phase, and we never actually, we forget why we even started this journey as an entrepreneur. And, myself, being an airline pilot, speaking on stages, I know a few things about systemization. I don't have to be a contractor to have a conversation with someone and go, that systemization is not correct. So what I've learned at these conferences, like what you're doing is so great, is just because somebody shows up and maybe they're doing 50,000 a year and they're sitting next to a guy that's doing 50 million a year, we're all humans that have life experiences, and you never know what you're going to get from someone. And I'm saying this to help, people understand why your event's so valuable, is that when you go there thinking, okay, I just need to learn something, it could be for the trade, but to give me the result of having the better life. Because I think we forget about that. And I don't know if, your thoughts on that. I see it so often that they just get stuck as that identity. And I'm like, why are you doing this? And they're like, no. I don't know. Like, well, you need to figure this out, because you will die on this vine if you do not figure this out. And your families will be strangers. The gym will be someone you haven't seen in freaking 10 years. Like, all these things that you're running away from, you don't even know where you're running to. And you just kind of like a car on the highway running out of gas at some point. How do you help people do that? Or what's your perspective, I guess?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's so interesting, when you look at all these different types of trades and types of businesses, like, you realize, like, the fundamentals of managing a construction business, they really haven't changed in decades, and they're really no different from one to the other. There's a few little nuances, but, like, again, like, these are more kind of strategies, versus like the underlying fundamentals. I think, though, the most important thing, and I tell people, like, at the very beginning, like, or as soon as you possibly can, like, you got to figure out, why are you in this? What is your mission? What is your vision? Like, what is the thing? Like, why are you going to wake up every single day, day after day, pop out of bed, excited as hell to get in there and crush it that day? Like, what is that? Because, like, being an entrepreneur, like, the effort, the work, the stress, like, any rational person would quit. There's absolutely no reason that like somebody like would get up and just like take a beating day after day after day unless you know why you're doing that. Like, what are you passionate about? What impact do you want to make on the world around you? You control your own destiny, but like you got to know where you're going. And so I think it's so important that people can dig deep into their own, soul, their own gut. Like, who am I? And what do I believe in? What are my core values? And what do I want my company to represent? What is my company's mission on this earth? What is my company's core values? And when you know that, and your job then becomes to just continually inspire others around you, your team, they need to know why you're here. They need to embody those values and that mission and that purpose so that every day they can represent you just the same as if it was you out there talking with the client, managing the people, doing the day-to-day. Like, this is how you can, start to, build a team around you, is when they are like truly in the same boat, rowing the same direction. And you're going to get there so much faster, and it's going to be so much more enjoyable when you have that guiding light. And so I think it all starts with that. Like, why are you here?
Yeah, I think you and I align quite a bit on this subject. The one thing I've learned is that when you talk to people that are successful, right? Like very successful, the common thread is their belief. They have a belief that they are going to achieve their goal. That's it. I always tell people, fear and doubt have so much power over you, and it's something you can't even see. You can't see it, you can't feel it, you can't touch it, but yet it will control every decision that you make sometimes when you are fearful and doubt. And doubt can be very convincing, right? It'll convince us. And I'm like, the difference between people that are, a self-made millionaire and someone who started at zero is nothing. They're exactly the same. It's just the decisions they made along the way and the belief that they had. They may go, I don't think Eric's going to be fucking successful, but you know what? This guy believes it so much, I've got to back him. I've got to believe that this guy is going to do it because there's no doubt in my mind this guy is going to make it. And so one of the things I always tell entrepreneurs when I'm coaching them, I'm like, what is your belief? Like let's strip it all down. Like, what do you believe? Do you really believe that you are going to do this? Because if there's any, and you can see their tells, you can see their if there's any hesitation, I'm like, you don't believe it. You may say it, it's cool. And you may need some convincing, totally cool. But you have to believe it, because when times are good, Eric's the hero. When times are bad, they're looking at you saying, boss, what are we doing here? Like, we got this? And they are looking into your beliefs to say, you know what? We got this. We're good. We're going to be okay. And I don't know if, again, I don't know how you instill that to someone. Like, my thing is when I coach people, I believe in a 3-phase process. First thing you got to do is you got to get your business on autopilot. It's got to get running, profitable, running without you. So it's not a job, right? Step away for 3 days or 3 weeks or 3 months, go on vacation with your family, creating those memories. The next phase is creating the boardroom. How do you get advisors to start giving you advice on a higher level? And then the third is, how do you get to legacy? Create a legacy for you, for your family. Like, what are you doing all this for? Because if it's just going to be contracts that you sell to a VC firm, it may not be what you think it's going to be. And I know a lot of people don't think that far ahead, but every car drive starts with a destination in Google Maps, and it works its way backwards. Any flight that I fly has a flight plan with a destination and work it backwards. I don't know if that's, is that too deep in your opinion, or is that?
No, I think you said it right. Like, it's mindset. It is your mindset. Like, I have never once in my life, I can't think about a time where I actually stopped and thought, man, I'm going to fail. Like, I don't believe failure is an option. I embrace the fact that I'm the underdog. My back is against the wall, and I got only one way to go, and that is to fight forward. And that is all there is to it. It doesn't matter, anything else. Like, at the end of the day, like, your job is to overcome every single obstacle that gets thrown your way. And when you can learn to appreciate that, and when you start to get overwhelmed, like, look, make a list. Just write it down. You can't solve every problem at once, and you can't let all of these things build and compound and like weigh you down to the point of like burning you out. Like, just make a list, and you take one thing at a time, you prioritize it, and you just attack. you attack, and then at the right time, again, once you've built out a plan and a model, like build a team around you. Like no one is going to build a wildly successful business all by themselves. Like you have to build a great team of people who are better than you at all of the individual specific roles that need to be accomplished to have a successful business. Like you can't do it all. And as much as we all want to keep putting on every single hat as entrepreneurs, and we think, man, I'm the best and I know that I want to do it, like you have to learn to delegate. And to do that, you have to build a team of people that you can trust and that embody your values, your culture, your mission, and let them go to battle for you. And again, I promise everyone, like it is so hard early on, but once you get, that first million, your first million is the absolute hardest. Your second million is a little bit easier. The third one, the fourth one, the fifth one, like you will figure this system out, but you have to believe that you can get there. You have to see where you want to be and envision yourself every single day getting there, and then just do the blocking and tackling, implement, and the hard work will pay off. You have to believe that. And if you don't have that belief, you're seriously like, you've got to change that mindset, or your life is going to be so much harder. And you may be one of the statistics. I mean, again, the majority of small businesses fail. They throw in the towel after 1, 2, a couple of years, and look, and I'll go to show or say that, like, Steve, I have seen the impact that hiring a coach, finding a mentor, a person who is willing to give you their time and expertise. Like Steve, like we have almost 7,000 construction companies on JobTread. And I can tell you, I've seen them. They're going along. And then that person comes into their life. They make the decision to invest in themselves. They hire a coach who's going to help them learn how to be a better leader, how to get their mind right, how to take care of themselves, their physical health, their mental health, to build a team, to support others. And it's just this transformation. And it doesn't take a long time. It might take a month or two, but like you start to see those moves. And it's not that person couldn't do it themselves, but they don't know what they don't know. And sometimes you need that outside perspective looking in. Sometimes you need that person who's already seen the struggles through other clients and other people. Because again, nothing you're going through is unique, but it can be very, very hard to be able to sort of take that step back, have that 30,000 foot view. And when you can figure out how to invest in yourself, like you're just literally shortening the whole duration of the grind. And you're getting to the point where like you can get over that hurdle, get over that break-even point, start to cash flow this business, start to get profit. Now you're investing and you're doubling down, and like it gets so much easier, but you got to get yourself to that point. And I just encourage people, do whatever it takes to do that. Join a group, find like-minded peers, network, take the time. Like you don't have to sit in your like office chair every single day or sit on the job site every day. Take the time to get out and to go meet others and to go work with a coach and to go learn and invest in your own personal development. And that will come back and play a 10x fold on the entire business. But you got to do that. You got to take the time to do that.
Dude, I so agree. And not because I'm a coach. I tell people, you got to go with who's right for you, right? Not everybody. I can be nice or I can be honest. I can't be both, right? I'm here to help you. I'm not going to be nice. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, right? That's me. But my thing is when you're getting coaching, you're paying for the thousands of entrepreneurs before you, their mistakes. And you're speeding up the process because, we tend to waste what we value the least. People will waste their time and hoard their money. But last time I checked, nobody's reprinting a 25th hour in the day. So I'm like, why would you waste? It's going to like, I tell people all the time, and you and I've seen this over and over again, where you're going to pay the bill. The bill is coming. And it's going to be paid. You're either going to pay it in 12 years of time or 12 months, and you're going to buy those mistakes. What I buy, and I have coaches, and I'm sure you do as well, and I've got people that coach me, I'm buying their mistakes because they're saying, Steve, don't do this. This is a mistake. Don't go down this path. And I'm like, well, it seems to make sense. Well, they're going, it may seem it, but it's not. And that's, again, with coaching, I think having a community, having someone to hold you accountable and say, no, you're not doing that. You're going to get up and you're going to hit it again. And you're going to do it again. What if I fail? Then you fail, but you're going to do it again. And pretty soon you'll go around the wall and stop hitting your face into the wall. And and like you said, it's not rocket science. It's not like anyone's magical and mythical. It's just a matter that you just haven't seen it. It's kind of like eating an apple like an orange. it's not that you don't understand. You just may not know how to eat an orange because no one has shown you the roadmap to peeling it. And what coaches do is they go, oh, stop eating. Let's peel this. And it's going to be much easier. Like, wow, that just bypassed a lot of headache. So I agree, man. Dude, I'm pumped, man. I want to go check out your event, man. I think it's going to be great, man. So when is the event and where is it at? And I'll have the links to it for people, but I'd like to, maybe you can talk about it, when it is, where it is, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can learn all about it, jobtreadconnect.com. It's in January 14th to the 16th. It'll be here in Dallas, Texas. We do it close by our office, so we can leverage our whole team, to really help put this on. But it really is. It's an amazing opportunity. People who come out there, like, the biggest thing we get and we hear from them is like, man, I wish I would have brought my team. I wish I would have brought more people. Like, this has single-handedly made the biggest impact on my business and has rejuvenated me, has given me, this energy to get out there and improve and do better and crush it. And I love doing it at the beginning of the year because I feel like that's the time where you got to just, again, level set, go into it, set your goals for the year, get all the right things built out so that you can track your progress as you go. And I love doing it, at that time of year. It's just a great way to kick off the years is kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, that's come out the gate swinging, 2026, come out with fire. I think that's a great idea because that's kind of the down season a little bit, a lot of times. So it's good for them to regroup, reset, get their heads right, get their team set. And like you said, I've been to a lot of these and I've spoken at a lot of these events. And, what people normally say is, I wish I would have done this sooner. Like, I wasted time. I wasted the one thing I won't get back. I'm like, well, you have time now. So you either make a decision today that you're going to do this moving forward, or a year from now, you'll be saying the same thing. You'll be right back to this conference. You'll be telling yourself the same thing. And the only thing you've lost is a year of memories, because that's really what you're losing. You're losing a year of memories with your family and your loved ones. And that's something that at some point they may not be sitting around waiting for, or they may not be there, or something may, God forbid, something may happen. So it's something to think about, that it's not just going to the event for your event. I think it's going there to change their perspective of life, to really sit there and think, okay, why am I doing this? Like, I always tell people, like, why don't you bring your spouse to these events? Like, don't you, whether she's in the business or not, or he's in the business or not, they have a stake in your business, because if you go bankrupt, they are affected. So they have a responsibility to be here. And I'm like, that is a responsibility that everybody has when it comes to your business, because you go bankrupt, they are affected. And again, I'm not saying they got to sit in all the contractor conversations, but they should understand what the person is going through to say, like, okay, now I kind of understand. You're not crazy, number one. And number two, there are other people like you that have these challenges. Now I can kind of relate a little bit and empathize a little bit about what you're doing. So I'm just a big proponent of inclusion as opposed to excluding people, saying that person doesn't, like you said, the team. Like, why not bring the whole freaking team to go, guys, I'm investing in you to go do this. And, I used to, when I was learning all this world, our business coach used to make us go there and come back with 10 SMART goals. And so me and my business partner, we would go and we would never see each other for the conference, because I was the visionary, he was the integrator. And we literally would go and we'd have 10 SMART goals each. And people are like, oh, are you and Pete not in business together? We're like, no, we're in business. They're like, oh, you're not hanging out. We're like, we're not here to hang out. Like, we're here to get, we each have 10 goals we have to accomplish. I'm not going to get that in the operations meetings. I'm going to get that in the marketing conversation. So again, I just think that if you go there with intention, like for people that are watching this, if you go to Eric's event with intention and you go there and, you can look up a SMART goal, but just go there wanting to get something out. Just don't go there just to, hanging out is cool and getting to meet people is cool, but go there with the intention of coming back with something to implement in your business. And I think if you do that, you will see huge swings in success. And I'm not sure what your thoughts are on that, Eric.
Absolutely. And again, I want people to know, like, yeah, you will learn a lot about job trade, but this isn't like, it's by no means is this like just like job trade training. It really isn't. Like, if you want training on job trade, you can go to our live, virtual trainings every day. You can come into our beginner boot camps here. Like, this is an opportunity to learn fundamentals for your business, for how to build a better company, how to build a better team, for recruiting and hiring, for sales, marketing. Like, it's so much more than just like, how can Job Tread help me? Like, this isn't intended to be a Job Tread, training
Promo,
event. Like
yeah.
this is a business event. And Steve, I couldn't agree more with you about like the importance of involving your spouse, your family. Like when I talk about how do you build a great culture, you have to, one, you first, you focus internally on everyone on the team, make sure they feel bought in, they feel part of it. They take ownership, you're rewarding and recognizing them. But like, I also talk about the importance of finding ways to involve their families. When you have events, when you have holiday parties, when you have, big wins, like invite everyone's families. Like if someone, if their spouse, their partner at home is supportive of you working hard and doing, taking that call that you get on the night or the weekend or whenever, when something's happened and you're called to go above and beyond, like when the spouse understands like why you're doing that, when they see and they're bought into the culture and the team and they appreciate you, like there's nothing worse than going home and having your spouse like just so unhappy that you're working and doing whatever you're doing. Like that doesn't help you every day. Like you got to have the buy-in at home for people to be able to come into the office every single day fired up and ready to execute. If you don't have that support at home, like, man, your life is going to be so much harder. So whatever you can do to show that you care about your people's families, man, like you're really, that's how you take it to the next level.
And real quick, and I'll cut this short, but when I coach families, when I coach husband, wife, or partners, I have them create a board of directors, and the spouses have to be in the meetings, and they're high level meetings, board of director meetings. You're talking about P&L, forecast, all those things, but I'm like, it's so that they understand, and it's not normally the business partners that have an issue. It's the spouses that don't understand, because what do? We go home and we talk to our spouse, and all we do is we bitch about all the problems, and they're like, "Why don't you just quit?" And you're like, "Quit? I love this. Why would I ever quit doing this? This is," and they're like, "Well, I only hear the bad part. I don't ever hear the good part." And I tell people, like, that is selfish for you to do that. Like, if you want them to be a part of it, they've got to hear the good things. Because if you're just bitching all the time, every day, because that's what we do. We go home, we're like, "Oh, so-and-so didn't do the job today." And that's not really fair to them, because they didn't sign up just to be the punching bag. So bringing them to these events, having board of directors meetings, now you're including them. So again, they may have $1 million idea. They don't have to be in contract and go, "Hey, why don't you do this?" And it just may be the one thing, because we're all consumers. We all have our own brains. We all have ideas. You never know where that idea comes from. Southwest bags fly free. That came from a ramper in like Charlotte, North Carolina after 9/11. He was just like, they were like, "We need ideas to save money." They did these town hall meetings. Herb Keller was there, and the guy was like, "What if we just let the bags fly free?" And they were like, "That's not a bad idea." And all the other airlines were like, "You're going to lose your ass. Like that is a dumb, you're going to lose millions and millions a day." They said, "We're doing it anyways." The next year, Southwest Airlines made more money than American, Delta, and Northwest combined because of that. So my point is you never know where your $1 million idea is sitting. It may be sitting in your spouse that you think she's not in contracting. She doesn't know. She could have the $1 million idea if you just open up that window, the avenue of accepting that information. That's my experience, at least.
Couldn't agree more.
Awesome. Well, Eric, man, thank you so much for being on again. Job Tread Connect, January 14th, 15th, 16th in Dallas. We will have the link for those of you that want to get tickets. Definitely go. I think it's well worth it. Again, just being around like-minded people and getting to educate and engage. I don't think there's no such thing as going wrong. I think you're going to be very, very happy. For those of you that make the decision to invest in yourself and go, definitely something that you guys will do. So Eric, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate having on and finally getting to meet you sort of in person. Maybe one day soon we will meet in person.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And Steve, I want to thank you too, though, man. Like, I see that you're pouring your blood, sweat, and tears into helping others, being a role model, being a coach. Like, man, like that is often a thankless job. And I know it. But I can tell you, I see the impact every single day. Just again, as that third party looking in, like you truly are making an impact on so many people's lives. And I thank you for doing that, because that is often the difference between someone succeeding and someone throwing in the towel. So thank you for everything that you do, for helping to motivate, inspire, give them the training, the education, the tools, and holding them accountable. It makes a huge impact. So keep doing what you're doing, man.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. For those of you We will see you next week on High Stakes with Steve Rozenberg. On behalf of Eric, myself, Job Trade Connect, we will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.